My name is Lindsey Curnutte, and this is On Air with Heritage Action, a podcast built for conservatives. Twice a week, we break down in 5-ish minutes or less how you can get involved today in the fight for conservative values. President Biden's first State of the Union is tonight at 9 p.m. in the Capitol. And on today's episode of On Air with Heritage Action, we're going to be cutting through the narrative that he's pushing and tell you exactly what to look for. This will be Biden's first State of the Union. And last year, Biden spoke to a joint session of Congress, but it was not an official State of the Union address. Then, lawmakers were not able to bring guests because of the pandemic, and this is a restriction that will be again enforced tonight. But it is rumored that First Lady Jill Biden will be including up to 8 guests. So who could those guests be and why are they important? They can be clues into what Biden is focusing on right now. So let's look at the history of bringing guests. Ronald Reagan was really the first president to spotlight guests during a State of the Union address. And since then, every president has done it as well. But President Trump really took advantage of this opportunity and used his guests as a messaging tool to get his message out to the American people. So think back to 2020 when President Trump gave one of his guests, Rush Limbaugh, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And then just after that, surprised Amy Williams and her 2 young children by reuniting them with their husband and father after his 4th deployment in the Middle East. It can make for great storytelling, and Trump completely mastered that. So what guests will Biden bring? What story does he have to tell here? He hasn't had a lot of really substantial policy victories to highlight and that he's had over the past year. So look in Congress, there's 2 failed voting overreach bills, and his signature piece of legislation, the Build Back Broke bill, was defeated. And then there's high inflation, rising energy prices, a disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan. He's not going to want to talk about this. And before we get too much into the messaging of what Biden's going to say in his speech, let's just look at the logistics. So first, attendees. We're expected to see 6 of the 9 Supreme Court justices after just one of them was invited last year. We'll also see about 20 cabinet officials, and all members of Congress have been invited, which has actually changed from Pelosi's first announcement that only a handful of members would attend, of course, because of COVID guidelines. But under brand new guidance from Congress's Office of the Attending Physician sent out on Sunday, lawmakers and other attendees don't have to wear masks anymore. In Pelosi's initial announcement, the attending physicians said they'd be required. But since then, the Biden administration has shifted health guidance to say face coverings are not needed in Washington. But remember, and you probably know this, when Democrats say they're following the science, they're really following this political science of polling. Democrats see the polling on mask mandates and lockdowns and all of that. The tide has turned against them. We're seeing that across the country. And they don't want the State of the Union to be a visual reminder to voters in just a couple months of another one of Democrats' failed and unpopular policies. So what does that leave Biden to talk about? A source familiar with the address told the Washington Post that the speech is going to be designed to appeal to 3 groups of voters who support Biden's needs: moderate Democrats, independents, and never Trump Republicans. We also have intel that he recently revised his speech to focus on Russia, of course. So there will be a lot of talk about Ukraine, as expected. But Biden can't make this entire speech about Ukraine. He'll have to find some domestic policy issues to speak on. As a reminder, Biden's approval rating has hit the lowest point in his presidency, with only 37% of Americans saying they approve of the job he's doing. That's from a new poll released just on Sunday. Those polling numbers also indicate that despite his troubles overseas, Americans are not forgetting about the troubles at home. Voters are not going to give Biden a free pass in the midterms this November. So how can you, as a conservative, use the State of the Union to your advantage? It's simple. Cut through Biden's spin and focus on the truth. When Biden talks about how precious life is, agree, of course, and say that's exactly why we need to overturn Roe versus Wade. It's time to end the abortionist war on the unborn. When Biden talks about the sacredness of Ukraine's borders, point out the sacredness of America's borders. During Biden's first year of office, we'd have a record number of unvetted illegal immigrants pouring across our southern border. Biden's focusing on crises overseas, but meanwhile has purposefully instituted policies to create a crisis at home. When Biden talks about the sanctions placed on Putin's economy, remind people that Biden killed the Keystone Pipeline on his first day of office, making the world even more dependent on Russian oil. Just think about that. Tell your elected officials that we need to return America to energy independence. Reopen that Keystone XL pipeline is a great place to start. Don't let the left and the mainstream media control the narrative here. You have the power because you know what's really going on. Use your voice and tell the truth to poke holes in Biden's narrative here. So stay tuned for some of these clues into what we're looking for here, and obviously watch the State of the Union along with us. Heritage Action will be live tweeting the speech, so you can follow Heritage Action on Twitter for live updates. We're also posting on our accounts on Getter and brand new social media profile on Truth Social. So search Heritage Action on these platforms and follow along to stay in the know tonight. That's it for another episode of On Air with Heritage Action. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you heard in today's episode, please click the follow button. If you want to receive a text message each time a new episode airs, text podcast to 51776 and you'll never miss an episode. That's podcast to 51776. Hi, it's me again, and we need your help. If you like the insights and activist resources that we're providing, please take just 1 minute and help us spread the word. So follow, like, subscribe, and share this episode of On Air with Heritage Action with your friends and family on social media or even over email or text. We need your help to get others involved in the fight to hold Washington accountable. And don't forget, you are also able to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcasting app on your smartphone. So in-app, you're going to search for On Air with Heritage Action and subscribe so you can download episodes and listen on the go. It's the best way to make sure you never miss a thing. Thanks.